Welcome to the channel for the bold. Whilst I am working on the Ducati behind me here, there's still a lot of work to be done. This is now polished and everything, and it's ready to be made into a plug. And also we have got the mongrel, whose wheel I am cleaning up and doing other little bits as well. But whilst those bits are being done, I've been wanting to put this video out for a while, but I've never found a natural pause in between work to actually do it. Today is that day. A question I get frequently asked through DMs and emails and everything is, what bike would I recommend to people that don't want to go through the process of building these bikes themselves? Now there's two kind of answers to this. One option is to go through a trustworthy builder that you know of, such as the big names out there. Obviously there's a cost involved with that, but the plus side is that you get a trustworthy job from a builder who you know, and you know that no faults are going to go wrong with it. And if they do, a lot of the time these builds are going to be have a warranty set aside them, so if anything does go wrong in the first 3 months or even longer, you know that you can go back. And as well with these old builds, if you are restoring a 40-year-old bike, chances are all the rubber and everything throughout it and electrics and everything needs to be replaced. So you need to be sure that whoever's building the bike for you does all that, so you essentially get a brand new bike in an old form. So this leads on to the second option, and that is to buy a brand new bike. I know that one of the bikes that I'm going to present today isn't currently in production, and that is the BMW R9T Racer, but there's good reason why I've chosen this bike instead of a current production bike, but we'll go to that later. Regardless of that fact, new bikes mean obviously there's less perishable stuff on there, less wear, you'd have thought, and in all-round generalness you're getting a bike with fewer problems than what you would do if you were to buy a 40-year-old bike that's been done up. Now today's video is going over my top favourite 5 currently of cafe racer styled bikes that you can buy on the market today. Now first off, and I'm not going to dilly-dally over this, a firm favourite of mine is the BMW R9T Racer. Now this bike was originally brought out in 2018, and from my understanding it is not on their 2021 range of R9T bikes to be pushed out there. I have no idea why, because in my eyes this R9T is the purest you can get towards being a proper cafe racer out of all the bikes that I'm presenting today. In my eyes, it's got the cafe racer styling, it's got the fairing at the front, it's got the cowl at the back. The R9T in general, to me, it looks like a short, stocky bike. It's a very grunty bike. It's all up front, especially with that classic Boxer twin engine, but somehow the R9T with that front fairing and the cowl kind of elongates the bike even longer than what it is. Of course you've seen examples of R9Ts with the backs all pretty much brought back to where the seat ends, and that is where the structure of the frame ends there. But this bike just looks sleek and modern. It is sporting a 1200 or near enough a 1200 engine. There is a first time ride of this bike on my channel, and I did fall in love with it as soon as I took it out. If I had the money to have that bike in my fleet, I would, no problem at all. I've got no issues with having that bike here. It is stunning, down to that classic BMW coloured lines going across it on a white body. Some details on it I would change. The rear subframe I'm not over keen with, only because of that textured finish. I think that could have been a much smoother billeted aluminium piece. At the moment it looks very cast, and I'm sure it probably is cast, but I think some things that you can modify yourself to make it even nicer. But what I do like about it is that it's a modern bike, spoked wheels, true to that cafe racer style. It is a fun bike. It has a lot of torque, a lot of power and a lot of grunt, and also has that little side wobble that you get from a nice Boxer engine. So you blip the throttle and the bike just swings off side to side. It is beautiful in that sense. Number 2, and these are in no particular order whatsoever, another favourite of mine in terms of styling is, and this will surprise you, but in terms of styling, the Husqvarna Vitpilen 401 is a favourite of mine. I absolutely love the look of this bike. The first time I ever saw this bike, you kind of do a double take on it and you're thinking, is this a custom bike? Because the bodywork on it is absolutely stunning. That all-in-one monocoque shape to it, which is probably a reason why I didn't go for the 701 over the 401, as the 701 actually splits the body in two, and I think the way the 401 carries it all in one kind of resonates with me a lot more than that. I know it's a small displacement engine, I know it's a 400 over the 700, which is a 701, but being a 401, I think that's where it has its advantage, because for people getting into these bikes, especially if you're under the age of 25, I believe at the moment, that you have to have an A2 license, which means that you can't go over a specific power of motorcycle in the UK. So you've got to either have your bike restricted to an A2 class, or you can simply buy a 401. And I don't think that power would be an issue with a 401. I think compared to the older bikes that we ride, brand new 401, I think won't disappoint you in the slightest. It features a gorgeous trellis frame. As you all know, I'm a fan of trellis frames, but the attention to detail on all these parts, and all these parts as well are customizable. That's one of Husqvarna's kind of lead points on this, is that they do provide aftermarket parts for these bikes, and you can customize them how you want. And I think that as an entry into someone that wants to customize their own bike but doesn't have the confidence to do an entire bike build themselves, I think this is a good entry. As well, the price on them are ridiculously cheap, considering it's a brand new bike with the warranty and everything that you're going to get. The price that the 401 especially is going for is a heck of a bargain. 701, there's a few £1,000s more than that, but again, the 701 is still kind of an achievable price range. 401, I don't think you can get any better for your money for that price. Number 3 is Ducati. I couldn't make a video without featuring Ducati, and I know what you're thinking. Does Ducati have a cafe racer range? Well, yes it does. It has the Scrambler range. So the Scrambler range, ignore the name, it is much more than a Scrambler. Ducati have a cafe racer model in their Scrambler range, so use the exact same engine as the Scrambler. So again, it's an air-cooled, this time on their cafe racer, I think it's an 800cc engine. I have been on an 1100 Scrambler, and I've got a video in my archives which I've never actually published. That was a fun bike. I haven't been on an 800 engine myself, but I can't imagine there's too much of a step down to the 800 from the 1100, especially seeing as I'm used to a 600 here. That would be a step up in my books. But the Ducati Scrambler Cafe Racer has all the classic looks, all that retro vibe going on, especially this one, the blue leather seat, the cowl at the back, that mini fairing at the front still gives it that racer inspired look. It's not a full fairing like you do get on the R9T Racer, still it just completes that look and makes it look a little bit more cafe and less Scrambler than the other bikes in the range. The accent colour on the frame lets it pop, as well as that undeniably recognisable V-twin engine that they sport as well. Complete that system with a mean exhaust, and aftermarket exhausts are available if you want to get a bit more grunt and a bit more noise going out. But to finish it all off, in true cafe racer style, again, spoked rims gives it that classic look, and handling on these bikes are amazing. You'll have so much fun with these, but with this range in particular, the cafe racer range, they do have road tyres, not kind of dual use which you get on the other Scrambler ranges. Still, there's a lot to customise on these bikes if you're brave enough to do so. If not, you can leave them the way they are and they're going to be a superb bike for you. Number 4, Triumph. We couldn't do a Cafe Racer episode without featuring a Triumph. Obviously, British heritage. Cafe Racer obviously is a British heritage range. So the Triumph Thruxton TFC. The TFC in particular, because this is to me the truest form of the Cafe Racer bike, again has that front fairing which completes the look. Only 750 of these made. It features a 1200cc or near enough a 1200cc engine. Enough grunt on that. I have taken the Speed Twin and the Bobber out as well, which has that Bonneville 1200 engine. This goes a step further than that. Again, those are fun bikes. So this one I can imagine is going to be even more fun. You're in that racer position when you're riding. All sorts of highly finished details on this. Obviously, because it is a limited edition with 750, you've got a lot of carbon fibre showing on this bike, the beautiful paint job on it as well, and you are buying a piece of history because, again, they are limited edition. You know exactly which number you have, and it is one to keep. This is definitely on my list, alongside the R9T Racer as well. But if you want a brand new bike with warranty, this is the bike for you. Of course, there are other Thruxtons in the range that are a lot cheaper than this one, but none I feel has that true Cafe Racer spirit as this one does. Of course, with the other ones in the ranges, you can buy your own fairings and seats and everything and make it look more cafe in your style, but still off the shelf, this is the one that I would go for if I had the money. And number 5 on the list is Royal Enfield. Originally a British brand, I know it's not anymore, but still it has that British roots to it. This bike, the Continental GT650, is a fierce twin. This bike will not disappoint you. It has the elegance of a 1960s bike. It looks classic for the untrained eye. To anyone that doesn't know their motorbikes, they might think that it is a classic bike. So it ticks all the boxes in that sense. If you want a classic looking bike that is brand new, this is going to be a bike for you. Again, I've seen people putting fairings, aftermarket fairings and everything on these bikes. You can customize them how you want to, so that might be a good step into customizing yourself with a new bike. Again, price range is fairly decent with these bikes, but the styling is what gets me with this. It's that gorgeous tank with the knee dents inside so you can instantly hug your knees in. It had to be in my top 5, this one. So that is a quick breakdown of the 5 new bikes that I would buy myself. Now there are a lot more bikes than that. There's one to look out for is obviously the new Norton ranges coming out. Now that Norton's been acquired by that new owner, there's a lot of different bikes coming out on this. And of course there's been the rebirth of Honda and everything, so you can get more classic bikes. But those are my top 5 favourites. So that is all from me for this week. Next week's video will probably either be back to the Ducati or the Mongrel, I'm not sure which one. But with next Friday being Christmas Day, it'll be a nice treat, a nice video for the day. Anyway, so that is all from me. I will see you next week. So until then, follow me on Instagram, subscribe if you like this channel, and I will see you next week.